meeting to order. Roll call.
Mayor Wester.
Yes.
Moeller.
Yes.
Stanky.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Bolton.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Do we have anyone here who wants to speak at public forum? No, we need consent agenda. Motion to approve.
I do have one change on that. We did get Dollar General's cigarette permit application in the mail today too, so if we could amend the agenda, we would include Dollar General's cigarette permit application.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Bolton.
Yep.
Reese.
Yes.
Moeller.
Yes.
Stanky.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
We had a correction on the minutes from the June 3rd. We need a motion from the council. to
Yeah,
approve that
just know
change.
that it is just a complete error on my part. And this deals with the approval of the development incentive for Bill and Emily Bowe. And it was listed that the vote was 3-2. It was a unanimous vote. And I offer my apologies.
I'll be accepted, so moved.
Second.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Bolton.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Moeller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution 1922. This is our lease with the bar.
Yeah, what this does is leases for 3 years the 10-foot of that street right-of-way that is easterly adjacent to the bar and the property, and the patio property. So that's where this new cooler is going, and the back entrance is on this, and there's another shed that's on this. We'd had this same arrangement then with Pat Goshby previously. Everything is in order, and she has signed this.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Moeller.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Bolton.
Yep.
Reese.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, the resolution is approved. 1923, our development agreement.
No,
Nope.
skipped over
Consider-
insurance.
Yeah, I was waiting for these guys. Oh yeah, our committee met with these guys, Whitey and Dave. I guess we'd like some input from you guys.
Well, we looked at, we went through both comparison, their bids were relatively close. One of the things that I know what we got right now, and whether that's, if there's about an $1,800 difference is what there is. And to me, it keeps us in line for our longevity package that they give us a discount for. They give us an opportunity that they've helped with some claims that we went through that we didn't think would happen, but did happen. So it was a very competitive bid, as I said, but in regards to making a change, I don't think there was that much difference as well. And one of the other things that we talked about was that, you know, now that we're putting up this sewer, new sewer project, that's exposing this city for, you know, $5 million. We have no insurance on our electrical outlet there, and I thought maybe we should look at putting coverage on that in case we do have a problem. We can handle, if we didn't have this other, it wouldn't be as much of a shock, but with us being in debt that far, another $2,000 would
Yeah, $2,000 on insurance coverage to cover $2 million.
yeah, so I mean, that, to me, it's
Asset.
pretty good. City can sleep a little better at night, I guess. Dave had a couple good points. I'll let Dave explain that. So
I agreed with Whitey. If we left right now, Whitey mentioned our longevity, we lose our longevity, and if something happened that we didn't like the new carrier or whatever, and we went back, we'd be starting all over from square one. The bids again were competitive, and I felt because we've worked with these guys for so long, I guess I mimic what Whitey said, stick with what we have.
One of the things that with the new bid, they offered a financial incentive too, but we'd have to be, I understand that for a year, and we'd only have 9 months credit on it, and then we'd have to wait another year, so actually we wouldn't receive any kind of incentive for 3 years, just about.
Yeah, it was a dividend. or something.
Dividend issued, so again, that's not guaranteed, that's not a for sure thing, so I mean, I'd like to say we could bank on it, but you never know what happens with extra claims or nothing about that. Could happen on this other insurance too, but at least we knew something with this last insurance. We had a claim and it didn't seem to affect our dividend right now, so what the future brings, nobody knows, I guess.
Court, Gary, you guys wanna throw anything in, or just wanna sit there?
Well, we had representatives and everything, and I guess we talked to them about what they have, and I guess Court probably talked about, what he was offering, so.
We appreciate you guys doing this.
And
They did a fine job.
they were so close as they could be to apples, you know, that, you know, again, you know, the difference wasn't huge. But, you know, with the uncertainties and everything, I feel comfortable recommending staying where we're at.
Was that a motion, Dave?
Oh, okay. So,
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Boltman,
yes.
Stanky,
Yes.
Muller,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Motion passed, we'll stay with ICAP. Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for the time and effort.
Yes.
I'd assume we want a solid quote then from ICAP about substation coverage.
Substitution.
Yeah, does anybody else have any thoughts on that, if they're against it or whatever? I'm open-minded about everything, but
Because on our list of everything that we've insured, that substation's not on there. And lightning hit it, or
Yeah.
we lost it in a tornado, or
What does
something
Bill
like
think
that.
of that?
Like,
What do you think?
pretty reasonable.
Okay,
Sub was built in '74, so
okay.
Yeah.
Think you're okay, Bill? That's a good idea.
I do.
Okay.
Each transformer on, it's gotta be over $1 million or so,
Right, I mean, that'd be a huge loss if something
pretty,
happened.
pretty safe investment.
Yeah, no, I just was.
Gary, I guess we're looking for a price on that.
Yeah, and as we get more and more into the lagoon project also, we'll be talking more about portions of that we would insure, which you're not gonna insure everything. But if there are some certain components of it to insure, we'll explore that too as we get into it.
Okay, now we'll do resolution 1923, Bill and Emily Bogue.
Yeah, let's take a look at this development agreement. Dave had drafted a development agreement, starts on page 24, which will be proposed, basically kind of the standard form of contract for a development agreement between the city and then, in this case, it's Bill and Emily Bogue, known as the developers. So, just the 2 points down at the bottom, that the developers gotta begin the improvements. They actually put today, they have done significant work down there. And I tell you what, we just hear many, many nice comments about what it looks like after the windows went in. Just really positive. So number 2, they need to refurbish, remodel, and rehab according to the plans approved by the city council, and that was mentioned that things were, that was the estimate and the photos that were given at the last council meeting. Incentive payment, the top of the next page, when they complete items 1 and 2, which is to start and finish, that they would receive an incentive payment. It's $8,000. They are eligible for tax abatement. The rest of it is kind of the legalese that go along with this, but just take a look at the remedies section that this does. This will address how you handle any shortcomings on either the part of the developer or on the part of the city. So if either party feels aggrieved, this lays out the process that they would use as far as giving notice. Talked with Billy and Emily on this. They are certainly on board, very appreciative. And I did ask that nobody would sign their agreements before we considered them tonight. And wanted to make sure that if the city council had any changes, we could still incorporate changes. But they are ready to move.
I talked to him today, he said, keep in mind, it's gonna take him a while to do the inside. It's a lot of work to do.
You see the completion date on that, December 31st. That was talking with them about a completion date too, and they were agreeable to that.
I think they're hoping to open in the fall, maybe.
They are. They are optimistic about that. They just, they don't really wanna hold their feet to the fire, so to
Right.
speak.
They did a really nice job because they could have really cheapened it up and they didn't, so it was good.
You know?
We have a motion on 1923.
I'll make a motion.
Second,
I'll second.
roll call.
Tom,
Yes.
Muller,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Boltman. Yep. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, the resolution passes. 1924, another development agreement.
Yeah, this would have the development agreement between the city and Dale and Christie Beckman. Again, that they would propose to subdivide land that creates 4 lots. See, it mentions 4 single-family or multifamily dwellings. That was one of Dale's requests to include multifamily, just so that it'd be just not to restrict themselves about the use of the property. It is properly zoned for multifamily. And again, as per the drawings that were submitted on June 3rd, that the development activities, number 1, that the developer would cause the removal, demolition, and disposal of all the bins, fans, dryers, the unloading system, auger, concrete pads, the footings, and then other pertinent materials. And then fill the area with dirt and then seed it with grass seed. Demolition is supposed to be done by September 30th.
So it's very definite that all the bins go.
Yeah, that would be a
Even the
requirement.
ones they're gonna use for storage?
That
They're
would,
taking them out.
that would be a requirement for this.
Okay.
That's what we had told them, because that was one of the main things of, not just part of it, but all of them, everything needs to be cleaned up, so.
I just want to clarify something, mostly for the public, because I've had a lot of comments about, you know, well, why can't we all just call blight? So the public needs to understand that Dale's property is in a TIF zone, not everybody's in a TIF zone. But with that being said, and, you know, Dale kind of alluded to the fact that we have opened the door here and we've done all these things. Best of my very knowledge in the use of TIF since EVAPCO was created, we have used TIF for the business district, we've used TIF for businesses that were coming in, we've used TIF to purchase 408 Main, we've used TIF now to help some businesses.
And we've done public project, and down the
Public.
park.
Right.
Yeah. The campground.
This is the first time that we've ever gone in and done TIF that would improve a private individual's property valuation. This is the first time. So this is really, I mean, you can say what you want, but that's what it is. So I just want the public to understand that. Because when we did the Reardon property, there's a lien against that. You know, we didn't, they didn't benefit from that. So, anyway.
You flip to page 29, take a look at item 3, where it's saying that 2 of the 4 lots would have residential buildings constructed on them, and the completion date on that is December 31st of 2020. And I had a date in there, I think of September of 2020, and Dale had requested a couple extra months just to assure that the construction would be completed by that time. And then item 4, they're just confirming that the lots do need to be mowed and maintained during this time. And a proposed incentive then of $8,000 would be paid upon the completion of items 1, 2, and 3. So that's having Dale remove the bins and fans and everything, and then all the pads and footings also. The developer shall provide the city copies of invoices from hired contractors upon which payment of the incentive payment would be based. So it'd be based off of actual bills turned in.
Did Dale give an idea when the bins would be removed? Did he have a hard date at all? I know
Just that he was good with the September 30th date. And the remainder of the agreement is that same standard agreement that we had. It tells how we address either party for remedies, which is that 30-day notice to correct.
Any more questions? Motion on 1924.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Bolton,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Moller,
No.
Stankin,
Yes.
Tom.
No.
Resolution passes. Okay, we were bringing the golf carts up because there's a tremendous amount of golf carts going around the lake. So we thought we would try to come up with something that matched the DNR, the DOT, to make it a little bit safer. I think we ought to do something before somebody gets killed. That's what usually prompts everybody to do something, like to do something fires. I think Scott talked to DOT.
Yeah, I
Ryan
talked
with
with,
DOT.
Royce and I talked with Brian from DNR today. Let's take a look at page 34 here real quick though. These are our current regulation regarding golf carts. That we do allow golf carts on streets under certain conditions. Okay, 7702, the driver does need to have a valid driver's license. So, and we see this from time to time with kids driving around, and that is a problem, but it's in violation of the code.
Are we stopping us?
Sending them home.
Okay, designated streets on 7703. Okay, so that you can operate a golf cart on any primary road here in town. Other than currently, you can't operate on Highway 175. And then you see item number 2, all state roads located within the city. So that's really the issue that we're gonna discuss here, is about whether it would be able to be used on North and South State Road. But I want to take a look at the rest of this here real quick too. 7704 talks about the equipment that's required. When you look at 1, 2, and 3, slow-moving vehicle signs, bicycle safety flag, and brakes, those are stipulated in the state code that you gotta have those. And you can supplement them with other things then if you want. And over the years, they have supplemented with adequate brake lights. So you gotta have brake lights, which is really about the only thing unique about our code.
Well, I have a question. Because they don't all have that bicycle safety flag on.
Okay.
Do you
The
think?
ones that do in violation, I doubt they have a sticker on. I think, well, some of them don't need one, the ones that are actually licensed.
Okay.
There's a couple of them that actually have license plates that meet the DOT requirements to actually be a motor vehicle.
So then they don't need.
So they're not golf carts, then actually they're a motor vehicle. I know, can I drop names in the public? I think Vern has one, and Gus has one, and, but, well, they meet the DOT requirements where they can't actually be licensed.
And is that because of the turning signals, or what, why is that? Because they look like.
I don't really know right off my head what all it takes to be qualified, to be registered, but that's certainly one of them. And I think headlights and,
Turn signals.
yeah,
They have a 17 number VIN number also.
yes.
17 characters.
Because they have to be assigned a VIN number rather than a serial number.
But I mean, as far as safety goes, the only thing is they've got brake lights and headlights and turning signals. Is that the difference?
Yeah, they're classified as low, what they call low-speed vehicles, which is different than a golf cart, which is different than an ATV, but, do they have to have seatbelts in them?
I don't believe they do because they're only 25 mile an hour.
Okay. That's about the only difference.
Just my last items to point out to you on page 35, time of operation, that there are some limitations in it, sunrise to sunset. So you'll see a lot of these have headlights and whatnot, they're still not authorized then to drive after sunset time. We do require a registration then, so here's what happens is somebody comes in and says, I would like a golf cart permit. We set up a time to have them go see Royce, and he'll inspect their cart and check for those 4 things that we have. And assuming they pass, then they get a permit, and there is a charge for that permit, and it's $2. But it's a $2 as an annual fee, so we can have that discussion here too.
That's not enough.
Last thing is motor vehicle laws do apply to these things. So, main item of discussion though is whether we would allow the golf carts to be operated on North State Road and South State Road. So, we had some interaction with the DOT about this, and they have really deferred to the DNR. So, we talked with the DOT, and they said that the prohibition about using them on parks roads applies to roads that are entirely contained within a park. So North State Road and South State Road, they go through some private lands. They're not entirely public on both sides. They're not meeting this definition then of entirely within the park. So the prohibition on golf carts doesn't apply. So you can choose to have that if you would. So we talked with Ryan O'Neill today, and Ryan's very much on board with the idea of allowing golf carts to go on North State Road and South State Road. Okay. Now, there's already signs that are posted, like if you turn off to go to Ice House Point, that is all entirely contained within the park. They're not permitted there. So Ice House Point, Shotgun Hill, Denison Beach, North Shore Parks, you know, they're not permitted there. The other one where it would not be permitted is at the marina. And, you know, to me that seems to be still a potential problem though, because you know darn well people want to drive their golf carts over to the dock over at the marina. And the DNR would not allow carts to be parked off of the North or South State Road.
Well, I tell you what, you could really have an accident because all the way around that lake, there's so many hidden little hills and little, you know, people drive fast around that lake. If you're on a bike, you know how fast they come up behind you.
To me, it's a safety issue, really.
It is.
It's not whether somebody says it's permissible or not, but it's a safety issue. You know, especially on busy weekends, you know, as cars are moving along around the lake, and then, you know, we deal with bicycles, and then we have bicycles who are pretty much able to go around, but golf carts, you have to stick right behind them, you know, even going up the hills and, you know, like Vicki said and stuff. And to me, that's a danger.
To me, with the enforcement, we enforce it here, we don't enforce it there. How would you make that determination? You know, if there's different spots where they're parked, and, you know, but other places they can park, and other places they can drive, but other places they can't drive, so.
Yeah, they can't enter any of the recreational areas, and we actually do kick them out of there.
Okay.
We don't cite them or anything, but we boot them out. They cannot go into Arrowhead or Ice House or Gunshot Hill or the marina
Right.
and all of that, but
I just don't, what is the point of even having them around the lake? Is there a big,
it's more popular than you think, and I know
I'm
the
sure it is, but
nursing home rents a bunch once or twice a year and drives their residents around the lake. Just to
I
kind of
think
get
you're
them out.
gonna get congested during the busy season, because you're gonna have cars out there, you're gonna have bicycles out there, you're gonna have golf carts out there and on our street, people fly down our street. I mean, they
all the way around
fly,
that lake.
you know.
Well, if you're
Yeah.
gonna take the golf carts, then take the bikes too. Simple as that. They're not licensed at all.
Bikes
That I
can
don't
go
know
on
if you can,
highways.
but, yeah.
Huh?
Bicycles can go on highways.
Yeah, I know, but they're not licensed either, so.
But I'm saying they're legal on a highway and a golf cart is not. So there is a difference.
Whatever. But if you're gonna do one, then I gotta do them all. Bicycle's slower than a golf cart.
Get the cats out of the bag we already got going all day long with the golf carts. We just will try to make it as safe as we can, what we got. Court,
Scott, didn't you say that it's already authorized?
the state authorized.
The state authorized it, that they can drive on the roads already?
They, they can. We still have a code that says, our code says prohibited all state roads located within the city.
Okay.
So my intention here is to at least clarify what that means.
So if you live on South State Road, or Cabin, come up here for the summer, and you bring your golf cart, what's to stop
That
you?
is, I tell you what, that has always been our answer when people call and ask about this, is that North State Road and South State Road are state roads, and that using golf carts is not permissible.
But it is.
Yes.
It's not in the city limits.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It is in the city limits? Okay.
Yep.
All right, never mind. I withdraw.
I don't.
The other thing that I would caution is, you're talking about safety, you also need to think about, with safety, insurance, liability insurance. And I don't know if you can require it or not, but you ought to think about requiring, if you can, having liability insurance, because if they're out there and they cause an accident, or they get in an accident,
well, so here's
who's gonna pay for that?
Here's the update on
There should be proof of liability.
on liability.
You require it for your docks.
Just for and this is state code also, that owners of golf carts are required to have proof of financial liability coverage. And it's specifically in chapter 321 of the state code does require this. And as I'm reading an article about this by the league, and they really describe it just the same basically as a car. That says, when you get this insurance, you likely were gonna have a card, and they can ask you for proof of your insurance coverage if you're out utilizing your golf cart. Because I know we'd heard this over the years about, homeowners insurance doesn't necessarily cover your golf cart out on the street. And it's a certain brand of coverage that you're getting. I talked to Wicker today. You want to explain what you told me, Gary, about what type of coverage?
It's under the state code that you have to have financial responsibility for a motorized vehicle. And so, therefore, any homeowner's policy, at least the ones that might have anyway, they won't, if it's off a golf cart, there is no coverage under homeowners. So you have to buy it. It's usually under some companies do auto policies, but a lot of them will motorcycle or snowmobile. It's that type of policy. They just add the golf cart to it. It's not very expensive or anything. But, to your point they're treating it like an auto for all the other requirements that you guys are, and the state says you can ride on the road, and it's difficult
It is
to
difficult.
say no.
Because if you start having them on north, and I don't think it's a huge problem out there right now, is it? I don't see very many. But if because you have all those lake homes that aren't permanent homeowners, right? So you have all these lake people coming, which means a lot of teenagers, and I just think you're gonna see people coming up to that trailer court, and they're gonna be bringing golf carts, and they're gonna be out there, and you guys are gonna be busy, because they're not gonna be registered.
The problem is that everything's treated like an auto. And I don't understand why they can't park on North Shore. You can't pull over with a
They
golf
got
cart and go
signs
fishing,
out
but
there. You can
because
have
you're
them.
requiring them to do everything else like it's an auto.
Like the marina, the people that live in the trailer, the court out there cannot take their fishing equipment across to their
Yeah.
boat and leave it set.
But they call it the state road that they
Right.
can drive it on, so it doesn't, Make a lot of sense to me, but.
Yeah, that's confusion, I think, is one of the big risks of this, that people will be very, very confused about where they can be and where they can't be.
I think, here's what I think. I think they don't need to be on North State Road, they don't need to be on South State Road, only because they're not there now and we're not having a huge problem with it. And I think all of them should have turning signals,
I do too.
all of them, even in towns.
They are on
I
North State
think we are a serious accident waiting to happen
They are
But I
on North
also
State
think
Road now, I
that we
see
should
them
have
go by
proof
all
of
the time.
liability.
out on North State Road.
Oh, yeah, they go by the cabin on the weekends during week. Mary goes around a couple times a day, like on,
Yeah,
You go around a lot.
you go around, yeah, I just think we ought to come down and say, hey, you gotta have insurance, you gotta have a mirror, and the $10 and follow all these rules and let the DNR worry about where you park them. At least we're,
And
What about the
and
turning signals?
enforce,
yeah, turning signals. you
if,
got-
if we change our code to allow it, we need to have enforcement
yes, we do.
of it.
Well, we do that, you know, we send them home or we make them get flags, but
Well, if a vehicle, if a car.
really the golf carts aren't the ones that are causing us the problem.
Right. But if a car was going around the lake at 10 miles an hour.
Yeah. They do.
and
We have a lot of people going.
Okay. And you pull them over for broken headlight or whatever, and you ask them for proof of insurance. By law, they have to have that proof of insurance. Otherwise, you can cite them. I mean,
Right.
the same thing should be with a golf cart. So if we're gonna change the code to allow it for the people that use golf carts, then we need to enforce.
Then we should put them on bicycles too, turn lights and stuff.
We
Bicycles aren't
can't
motorized.
change the laws.
Well, we're doing it with the golf carts, so I guess we'll do it with the bikes.
Well, it's really kind of, you can't write it on North State or South State, but you can write on the east side of the lake
Yeah.
all day, from Clausen's all the way to Mark Fryer's.
The county,
They're doing it now.
Yeah, they're doing it
They're
now.
doing it now. It's too late to shut the gate now and stop them, right? But the least we can do is require them to have the safety equipment that we need.
And how do you enforce that then during your inspection when they come every year, is that how you?
We can require it, you know, as part of the inspection, that they have
code.
proof of insurance.
Well, it wouldn't just be proof of insurance, it would be turning signals and,
The two things that are mentioned most now is turn signals and a rear view mirror.
but proof
Which-
of insurance.
And then proof of insurance.
Everybody has turn signals, so you got your right hand, like you do with a bike.
You're really on the bike then,
No,
aren't you?
it's really not fair, that bike's a lot slower than that golf cart.
but bikes are allowed on state highways and golf carts are not. I'm just saying, there is a
But we
difference.
can make it
You
so it
can't
is.
control the state highway. I mean, I'm talking about the highway, not those.
I have no problem with golf cart, but I don't have any problem with bikes either, but I think it's the same difference.
So the changes we're talking about is changing the code to allow that, right?
So, if we look at this code on page 34, so if we were to look at changes, we would have, we'd strike number 2 that's there now and say that it is prohibited on basically all roads entirely located within state parks. So, again, so if it's, Ice House Point is the real obvious example, that you could not take your
They have
golf
a
cart
sign right there at the entrance.
there. And-
Bikes are allowed,
Yeah,
not
okay.
golf.
And also ATVs, four-wheeler suppers are prohibited.
Right.
Where it is.
Yeah, there's a big sign at Ice House, I know.
So-
You guys like traffic around the lake, I don't know what the big problem is.
Yeah, as we're talking with Ryan O'Neill today from DNR, would like to try to fashion this in some way as to make it really less confusing to folks. And wanted to, be able to take a look at what our language would be, so that, you won't be able to drive through any parks. And this issue about parking on park lands, it's not our rule, and I don't know that we need to address it. But I find it strange, and I think it will be pretty confusing.
Do
But-
this, to do what now?
That, the deal about parking
Oh, sure, yeah.
on the state park land.
But that's not really a change, is it?
Well, no,
But that's not our deal, and it's not ours to enforce.
No.
true.
Ours to enforce is, it would be the insurance, the vehicle sign, flag, and adequate brakes.
So when you look at 7704, we'd add two things to that. Number 5, just be a rear view mirror. Number 6, to be a mechanical turn signal.
And insurance?
And insurance,
And there'd be a separate
right.
paragraph, I'm sure, to it to explain what the insurance requirements would be.
So before we write up our vote on this, do you think we should write out the correct language and see if the DNR kind of agrees with what's going on?
Yeah, really, if this is something you want to proceed with as far as some changes, I'd just encourage you to, instruct me to write up an ordinance and you would consider it from there.
So right now, they have to have brake lights, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. But they don't have to have, so do they have golf carts that have brake lights but no turning signals?
Yes.
And Speed can fix all that for $650 a piece, they say. $650 will fix all that.
Right,
Yeah, but,
so you're gonna see a lot less golf carts,
yeah.
I would say. But you don't
Right.
want the traffic around the lake, so that's a good deal.
How would you like to handle the ones, if we do change the ordinance, that they've already had permits issued for the year? You want to go back and meet the new standards, you want to grandfather them for the rest of the year?
I would think you'd grandfather and not make any changes.
For the
I
year.
think you'd have to grandfather.
You could stop them and mention that these are the new ones.
There's
You know,
ways
like-
to do that.
Well, we'll
Right,
do
so
is,
they have
if we
time
would
then
change
to
the
get-
regulations, we will shortly thereafter send out a notice to all of our permit holders. And it gives them 9 months to get all the changes made.
Right.
And if we okay the changes and ask you to change the ordinance and write it up as such, and that would give us more time to get some more public input.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
And then the next council meeting, when it comes up, we'll have more public input.
Yeah, you'd have to have a public hearing to amend the ordinance anyway.
Yeah.
We need a
So how
motion
many
to instruct the
golf
city
cart
administrator
accidents
to
have
do
we
that.
had
Yeah, one other,
in the last 10 years?
What about the fee?
yeah, that was my, I guess, one other issue, is the fee right now is $2 per year.
I think we'll leave it there.
I don't. I think it should be 10.
Well, if you're gonna raise, if everybody's gotta put turn lights on, then
I
you
understand
really got a
that.
big expense.
Is there anything in there about not driving on city sidewalks or through the park?
I don't think,
It happens a
No,
lot.
it's not.
On the golf carts, isn't it?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes, they're driving on the city sidewalks down around the lake, pulling into the park so they can go to the splash pad to sit with their kids, driving through the park with them.
We definitely don't want
That's-
them
Put
driving
the
through the
ordinance to
park.
prohibit on the city,
Yeah,
City parks as well.
because there'll be a Camp Crescent driving down the alleys.
Well, Camp Crescent has their own
Yeah,
regulation
we-
for
we
no
have-
golf carts.
We have rules
They're not
against
allowed
them.
there.
I'll bet you those are enforced strictly.
They really are, because it's a problem in Camp Crescent,
With all the
If
little kids running
you get some of
around.
those things tearing around down there, it's gonna be an issue.
Tammy, do you have a dollar amount? Did you say
$10,
$10?
minimum fee. That's just my recommendation.
We could come back with different amounts and different slots, or is that giving us
I
$10?
kinda agree with Terry though on that golf cart thing, they're gonna, some of them are gonna accrue a little bit of expense upgrading their golf cart and stuff. I'd like to see it stay the same as.
We don't want to be too cheap, we sold the size for $5,
Exactly.
cost $25 an hour to tear them apart. We didn't make any money there.
Well, we didn't do it to make money, I guess.
We could break even then.
I think it's a deal where, we want people to come to town, but yet you don't wanna put up with any of their shenanigans or whatever, it's hard to enforce all the rules, I would say, When you got more people, the more problem, Scott, you know, that's the way it is.
I'll make a motion to instruct Scott to come up with an ordinance for our next meeting.
Just understand that when that comes back to you, the fee will be blank. You guys can figure out the fee.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call.
Bolton,
Yes.
Bowler,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Reese.
No,
Motion carries.
Can I ask one?
Yes, Royce.
As for the insurance, are you gonna make them show a card, or is it gonna be like a vehicle registration where it's codified, you don't have to show it, but if there's a problem?
Did the insurance guys, wouldn't you think they should have a card? If you're gonna give them insurance, would you give them a card?
Yeah.
They give her,
Then they should have the card.
Okay.
does that
And it's-
include ATVs and that kind of?
And if an insurance company does have it on
Oh, yeah.
homeowners and does it with the homeowners.
ATVs will get cards too.
And it
Snowmobiles get them, they all get them.
Yeah.
No, that's,
Bikes have to buy them too.
And if they don't get a card, they can have a deck page in there which show proof as well.
But they usually issue cards for them.
Okay.
I just tell them when you check them over and make
Or
sure they
ask
have to
them
have,
for it.
because there's a lot of people that don't have the knowledge that they have to have them.
Right. Or they think it falls under something else.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
That can all be in your informational letter that you send out as well or something.
Okay, we had a nice meeting on the lagoon. What?
Camera's still working.
How would I know?
It'll have a picture in the screen if it's still going. All right,
There you go.
good.
Okay, we had a good meeting with the engineer and Drummond Hicks on the lagoon. Everybody read that little letter they sent out? They didn't ask for any money.
No, but I guess just know that they're really struggling with groundwater. And as they're talking with our engineers just made it abundantly clear that it is their responsibility to be handling groundwater. Now, the problem area, the worst problem area is the south lagoon south. And they're having a heck of a time being able to finish that thing out. Just that there's standing water in there and it's constantly pumping. So they had some choices about what they gotta do, but they gotta do water this enough to where they can finish it. And when they finish it, they gotta actually bring 2 feet back in of clay. So they're putting the clay on the bottom and that makes that the liner. And then, but they gotta get the area dewatered well enough that they can work the soils. And they're struggling with that. And so they went ahead and installed that drainage tile then, right, Bill? Okay. So they had a couple options about using well points and they can pump the water out that way, or they could install some drainage tile, which they've done. So they have drain tile that drains into a sump pit and then it's pumped out from there.
So do
But-
those drain tiles stay there?
They stay there, they get abandoned, but they stay there.
When we're done, I'll cut them off. Cut them out.
Yeah, so, you know, it's a difficult situation out there. But if it ever dries up enough that they can get this liner in, what they do is put this 2 feet of clay in, get it tested right away, make sure that it's compacted down there proper and everything is the way it's supposed to be. And if that thing, the liner passes the testing, then they'll actually go ahead and start filling it full of water right away.
Since we have such a compaction issue, are we certain of this?
We are, you know, as far as the type of testing that is required. We know the type of testing. But having said that, it is a concern with all this water that's in there about whether they can meet that and whether it would be compromised. So they gotta be addressing the groundwater all the way along. But what they do is they'll put this 2 feet in, pass the test. Well, of course, the water's still running below, right? So they start filling it up with water right away, and then the hydraulic load is the same on top and bottom. And then they won't have the infiltration problems anymore.
Till they dredge it out 40 years from now, they have to be careful then. I won't be here.
So that's the biggest issue. Take a look at page 39, though. This is the proposed change. and this, you can't tell nothing by looking at this, but this is at the existing sewer plant, Larry Hauser's land to the east, and then right to the north as you're coming up to the creek. Larry has this big hillside through there, and this is designed that it goes right through about the deepest part of the hill. So there's two manholes. In this case, it's the right one and the middle one are a couple of the deepest manholes there. They would propose to move those, 100 or 150 feet to the north, and you're not going through the deepest part of the hills anymore. The materials for the manholes decreases, so instead of being 40 feet deep, they're 25 or 20 feet deep. But the biggest thing that the contractor wants to do then is to directional bore that line. So they would be boring in the line instead of cutting through the 40 feet deep. It's a challenge, I think, to do that, but if it can be successful, they've also estimated it might shave 30 days off of the pipeline. So that was real positive. The engineers on board with this notion. It still meets all of our codes, and they would. Yeah, it does. It doesn't have any impact on that. It maintains that the constant flow there. Flow line is. I didn't show it, but it is 0.8 or 0.3%. So yeah, they really, I guess, it's a good option that they if it comes together the way that they anticipate, it saves a little bit of money, but mainly saves some time.
They've agreed to pay more.
Yeah, on the land rental issue about using Nora and Eric's land there. That it will be basically they will lease the entire parcel. There's 24 acres there. And that it would be basically a land lease to Grunman Hicks for this construction season. The city would pay the amount of damages that are based upon our easement, about $5,200. Any of the remaining costs related to the land would be borne by the contract.
So Grunman Hicks is gonna pay for this that they do not anticipate doing.
True.
And how much is that gonna cost
It's
them?
another
$7,500.
$7,000 some according to Schultz's initial proposal, which is still being considered. Open. Really, anything else on that, Bill?
Just when they do that 2 foot of compaction, when John sends the tests in, it takes a week before he gets the information back.
Yes, he had concerns.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
Because then what, he thinks it might be compromised by the time he finds out, or just?
Oh no, just that it passes. Once it passes, then he's done his job.
When you're out there, you see the water just boiling up. It's the hydraulic pressure pushing up on that 2 foot plate could be an issue. Most they can keep that water very long enough to pass the test.
Well, what happens, are you telling me then that when you put this clay and you get the liner in, then that underground water that is a problem now is not gonna be there because of the weight? Is that what you're saying?
That's what the engineer said.
Would this be the same engineer we've been using?
Not the one for the street.
It does. It makes, intuitively, it makes some sense. There's 15 feet of water then above it. It's
So
about
just
15 feet.
the pressure is gonna keep it up.
So that's the idea, is to equalize the hydraulic pressures.
So an idea of what the minimum of the water has to be in there, right? The level, I should say.
I thought he said he had to maintain it full, Scott.
Yeah, 15 feet is full.
Yeah.
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 They weren't concerned at the time. He was. But he was gonna do all he could, so. Okay, we have the pay estimate number 11 for Grunman Hicks. Do we have that motion?
Second.
Roll call.
Altman.
Yes.
Muller.
Yes.
Stankin.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Okay, resolution 1925 is setting salaries for supervisors. Before we start, I want to tell you that I I think all of our supervisors do a good job. I know there isn't much we can do. I know Kay would like more, but it is what it is. Just so everybody knows that, I mean, I talk to these guys every day, they do a good job. Bill's done a fantastic job putting 2 different crews together. Scott, Royce, they do a good job. You should know that.
That resolution's on page 43, and what that does then is sets wages then for the next fiscal year. Now, most of the wages for our full-time people then are established by the collective bargaining agreement. And then there's blanks in there then for the department heads, me and the department heads, and then also Kay. So these are the folks who aren't covered by the collective bargaining agreement. And then on page 44, you just see kind of a wage and salary history of what it's been over the past several years.
And we gave the union people 3%.
Union is 3%. Yeah.
Make a motion that we give everybody 3% like the union did.
I'll second it.
Roll call?
So just clarify. So I would just input the numbers into this based on 3%, and it's to approve the resolution.
Correct.
Okay.
So we done as,
Okay. Waltman,
yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Moller,
Yes.
Stanky,
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Motion passes.
I thank you very much.
I won't park there tomorrow, Kay.
What?
I won't park in your spot tomorrow.
If you do, I better have 5 caramels instead of 3.
I've anticipated that.
I'll bring her a bag, make a run.
Okay, we have a city administrator report.
Just know that this issue's been raised about, Anna Brotherton raised this now that she lives there at this intersection of 3rd and Crescent Park Drive. Did we get all this traffic that comes off of Crescent Park Drive around the lake? And there's a yield sign there, but folks don't necessarily always yield, and just know that she'd raised that as a concern. If she wants to come talk with you sometime, she's just not available tonight, so you may hear more about that. The other thing that was raised as a concern, though, is that as you're coming north on Crescent Park Drive, and then you look over to the left or the west, and you have those parking spaces over there at the Chief that are oftentimes filled, and oftentimes filled by neighbors, not necessarily by the people at the Chief. But that folks park there restricts some sight distance around the corner, so she wanted to express concern about that. I know we've had this discussion on and off over time about what we should do there at the Chief, and the idea about 15-minute parking has come up. And I'm becoming more accustomed to that idea, I think, but
We'd have to have an ordinance for that, correct?
we would need an ordinance if you... So yeah, what's your thoughts about any parking limitations there?
Well, I think you need to bring it to the public first of all, let them put their input first, and then if there is none, then we can make it.
Well,
And we-
the thing is that here's what I think you don't necessarily want people parking there for like 24 hours or, you know, if they live across there or whatever. But I don't know about 15 minutes, because what is 15 minutes just to look at the Chief, and how many people actually do that? And when-
15 minutes doesn't seem like a very long time.
And when parking is kind of critical over there, it would seem to me that, like, if people are visiting I mean, I know there's a big parking lot, but there's a lot of boats there. I don't know, I just think 15 minutes doesn't sound like much. So I think it'll end up not being utilized, and we need parking.
True.
I don't know.
Make a half hour or an hour or whatever.
Court, do you have something?
I just was curious on why it's a yield versus a stop sign at that busy intersection.
We found out they won't stop for either one.
They don't stop at any stop signs.
I think it was always a yield. I just
I
think
know
it's
ever
always.
since I've been a kid, here it's been a yield, but
Yeah,
I'm just curious, that's such a busy intersection.
and you could put a stop sign up there now, I don't know that it'd make much difference.
Royce, what do you think?
Well, and I can see it from both sides, because I've seen cars coming with their turn signals on,
Yeah.
but going straight.
Yes.
So, actually, our accidents there are very minimal. We had one by the Chief, but that wasn't related to,
Traffic.
yeah, oncoming traffic. Our accident experience there is minuscule. blame it, you know, it could just be luck, but that's kind of everywhere, that we really haven't had a lot of accidents there in my entire career here.
I think we got a lot of near misses, but as long as.
Oh, lots of near misses.
I go by there every day and, I mean, I just know that you gotta slow down and look both ways and always look. The biggest issue is those, and I like them, those stone items there that are on the corner for bikes. That's the biggest problem that I see. When bikers are coming, they're turning that corner and they're in the street. I mean, you can't get, and there's nothing you can do about it, but I'm more concerned about hitting the bike going around that corner or them coming around that way than I am a car.
And I know the non-natives don't know to swing out a little bit so you can see the traffic coming from the other way.
Yeah. We did have a semi park there the other day, that was a little bit difficult, he was by the chief, but it doesn't happen very often.
I think most of the locals know to watch out because of some.
Yeah.
Anybody wanna do anything? Let it go?
Well, like Roy said,
Well,
really
Hasn't been an issue.
problem there.
what'll be the parking, I think is what you're talking about.
The
too,
parking
right?
would be the biggest
Here's-
thing.
Yeah,
I think parking, I mean, I wonder if we couldn't do parking everywhere at once, kind of, because, you know, we've talked about changing Vine Street. Is someone supposed to be looking at that? Was Royce looking at that? That we were talking,
We have not done too much on that.
well, why don't we move ahead with the plan to do that, and then that, how much would it cost us to make some of that lot over there parking? What would that cost? Not to pave it, but just to have entries
a lot by
by the elevator
Yeah,
somewhere.
say, you know, clear on the north, probably north end of the block there, north of the water.
okay.
Would that cost us very much? Could we get some cost estimates on what that would?
It's, you know, a couple curb cuts and a few $1,000s of rock, I would guess.
I just think maybe you could address all the parking issues at one time. I don't know, I think that over there by the chief, I don't know, 2 hour parking, I mean, I don't know, what if they're visiting the campground? I don't know. I don't know.
Okay,
When the historical folks put that in there, what was their intention? Or does that not matter? I mean, their intention was parking so that people could look at the chief, right? But, I mean, if it's gonna sit empty all the time, you certainly could use it for something else. It's just, right now, the folks who live across the street come park there all weekend and don't move because,
Right.
you know,
Yeah, I think you have to have a time limit on it. I think the question is, what time limit do you think is
Sure.
adequate?
would you like to take some sort of
Well,
action?
I guess I'd like to make a motion that we, have Scott or someone, I don't know who else, I could check to see what the cost would be to get cost estimates to make a parking lot. I don't know about that time thing over there.
That's it. That's kind of two separate issues,
Yeah,
so.
it's a long ways away, that parking lot from the
Yeah.
camper. They won't walk that far. They'll park on the sidewalk at Kathy's if they can to get in there.
What are you talking about?
You want to put a parking lot up here by the sewer, water plant? That's a long way for the campers to walk. They won't walk that
Well, I
far.
wasn't talking about the camper.
Oh.
I'm just talking about parking
Oh,
through the
yeah.
community, and you could put it all together. So you could do the Vine Street assessment, you could do the cost assessment on the lot, and you could also identify how long they can park by the chief. What do you guys think of that? Any comment?
Well, the time limit on the chief is, to me, is a separate issue than the parking.
Right. I think so too.
Whatever.
I'll be working on those other two issues.
Okay, thank you.
We'll get it done. Yeah, you know, the other thing though is just also talking with the property owners again down there. And I know Royce has had some discussion with them about not utilizing that as the private parking
Well,
space.
there has to be some kind of a time limit, because otherwise they're going to.
Yeah,
we're gonna keep doing.
I'd be happy with a couple hours. I mean,
I would too. Try it, doesn't work, change it.
about 15 minutes just to me is long enough.
You can
Some
hardly
people-
thoroughly examine the chair, the
Some
cheese.
people, it takes 15 minutes to get out the door. Walk down.
So are you gonna make a motion for 2 hours on that? Is that-
Okay, I will.
I'll second.
Okay.
2 hours.
Roll call.
Okay, Waltman,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Moller,
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
That probably comes as an ordinance, doesn't it, to establish that?
Yeah.
We'll have an ordinance for it.
How do you enforce that?
We rely on our
Race
police
the
department.
smart tires.
That's what they used to do.
Just like you would enforce a 2-hour limit.
Just like the big city.
Just like the big city.
Mark the tire.
Yeah, don't park behind it for 2 hours, wait for the 2 hours.
No suggested parking meters.
Yeah.
When they break down, we'll call Bill.
Just a couple other things. Harvester has been out running for a couple days, but starting tomorrow, we're gonna start running that thing, sun up to sundown again.
Weather permitting. Too windy, they don't go.
The herbicide will be applied tomorrow then also.
For the first time.
Yep. Send out bid packets again on rebidding that shelter house canopy project. Okay, we have a set of engineered plans back on it.
Okay.
So, send that out. I propose to have a completion date of November 15th. And we would get this out here shortly and have the quotes be due on July 8th. So they'd have between July and November to get the project done. Northwest Iowa League is this Thursday up at Spirit Lake. I have an interesting program about what Okoboji does for some beautification, mainly along the main drags through town. And this community group that is undertaking that. And we'll see how things go, but it might take a day of vacation on Friday.
Anybody want to go to Dubuque, the League of Cities, in September? We're getting ready to book rooms.
They're booked.
They're booked? Oh, yeah, are they?
They're booked. Yes.
Speak up now or we won't have room for you. That it? Bill, you got here just in time. Oh, Royce?
Would this be an appropriate time to talk about the 400 block of Vine Street on Wednesday?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Go ahead and tell them what we're gonna do.
Okay, there's the meet
On Main.
on Main on Wednesday from 6 to 8, and I'm gonna give a bicycle presentation. And part of it, I wanted to do a little skills test like we do at the schools every year. And so I talked to John about closing a chunk of the 400 block of Vine Street down to put up some pylons and have a little rides for the test for the kids. We actually didn't do one at school this year. We had a new guidance counselor and they just didn't schedule it.
We're not gonna block the road very long.
What part of the road are you closing?
Just Vine Street by the bar.
By the farmer's market area.
Okay, we have a motion to go into closed session.
So move.
Second? Second. Roll call.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Tom?
Yeah.
Waltman. Congratulations.
Yeah, no.
Still going?
Yeah, did you know they started the shop today?
Yep.
You guys do that, all right?